So we're moving on to our last shape this unit. We've done all these different parallelograms. We've done just random shapes that I've kind of made up out of rectangles, and we've done triangles. So the last thing that we're going to cover as far as perimeter goes is a circle. However, circles are very different than all these other shapes because, and I know I mentioned this in class the other day, but you can't find the perimeter of a circle because there are no sides to just add up. So there's actually a completely different name for it. It's called the circumference, but the idea is the same. This whole distance around the shape, how long is it? If you started at one point and you walked all the way around the shape back to another point, how far did you travel? And I'll save you kind of some of the history of it, and we'll just jump in because I know you guys have seen this before at some point, whether you've taken geometry or not, because I know that they teach it in middle school at some point too. So we have this kind of magic number called pi. And here's the part that I'm going to kind of skip over the history of. We have basically two different formulas to find the circumference of a circle because there are two different measurements that I can give you in a circle. However, the formula is basically the same if you understand a little bit about how the radius and the diameter of a circle are related. So what we're going to do for us is we're going to use this number pi. We're going to use the value 3.14. Now, some of you might be using calculators that have a pi button on it. Please don't use that. The reason why is because when you hit that pi button on your calculator, it gives a much larger, physically larger value for pi, and that's going to throw off a lot of answers. So if some of you are using calculators and some of you aren't, or if you're using the calculator on your phone, you may not have that. Just use 3.14 every time I reference pi here. So we've got two different formulas because we're going to have a measurement given as possibly the radius or a measurement given possibly as the diameter. Now, the relationship between radius and diameter is if, the radius is this length from the center out to the edge of the circle, and the diameter is the distance all the way across through the center. So the relationship right there is if you double the radius, you get the diameter. That's why this formula has a 2 built into it, whereas the other one doesn't. So basically, you need a diameter length and then just multiply it by pi. However, if I give you the radius, you're going to have to double it first before you multiply it by pi. So there are technically two different formulas, but that's really the same thing if you understand the relationship. These are not going to be super hard to do. There's no, hey, you have to find the missing side or you have to use the Pythagorean theorem. Or here it is. I'm giving you the radius. I'm giving you the diameter. So the one on the right here, the one on the left, I'm going to have to double this value. So instead of 21, I'm going to be using 42. And then I'm going to multiply that by pi, which I ask you guys to use 3.14. So I'm going to take 42 times 3.14. Grab your whatever calculator you're using. And I've got 131.9. Now, round these to the nearest tenth, just like we've done everything else that kicked out a decimal. Round it to the nearest tenth. Don't just cut it off. Make sure that you're rounding the way you're supposed to. So this guy, you're given the diameter. So all I need to do is take the circumference times, the pi times the diameter to get the circumference. So this guy is just 40 times 3.14. So this one is 125.6 inches. Again, we've been leaving the units out on these. When we go into our next unit, which is all about area, we're going to have to be able to differentiate between the perimeter and the area of a figure, and the easiest way to do that is with the units. So if you know a little bit about area, we're going to be talking about square inches and square feet and square meters and things like that. If you don't know what that is, don't worry, we'll get there. Okay. If you would be interested in knowing more about kind of pi and how that works, like where it came from, where someone discovered it, shoot me an email or something. I'd be happy to kind of share that with you. It's kind of neat. All right, so I'm going to take circumference times 3.14. I'm sorry, I keep saying circumference. I mean diameter. Diameter times 3.14. So this one is 288 0.9 for the circumference. Again, circumference and diameter, they mean the same thing. It's just circumference is specifically for circles. You're never going to be asked to find the circumference of a triangle. It's not a thing. All right, so this guy, we're going to double because it's given a radius. So I'm going to double 33, that's 66, times my pi value. I got 207.2. All right, that's it, guys. It's a pretty easy formula to use. Please don't use the pi button on your calculator. So most of you that will skip this video and use the pi button anyway, you're going to get the wrong answers. So sorry about that. Not really.